Buying a bad car doesn't begin with a sudden breakdown. It starts with a single choice. And unfortunately, too many people are still making the wrong one. On the surface, these 11 vehicles might seem like smart purchases. But dig a little deeper, and you'll find engineering disasters, financial traps, and dealership secrets all wrapped into one package. You might be wondering, which innovative EV is already turning into a costly headache? Or which luxury SUV has a hidden tendency to become a waterlogged mess? Stick around until the end, because the last brand on this list still manages to fool even the most experienced car buyers. Let's start with Nissan, a brand that went from everywhere to nowhere. Once celebrated for offering affordable Japanese reliability, Nissan has slowly eroded into a shadow of its former self. And the issue isn't tied to just one model. It's about the company losing its grip on trust, performance, and purpose. Take the Nissan Rogue, for example. Once a top pick for suburban families, this compact SUV has now become a cautionary tale of modern automotive missteps. Its continuously variable transmission, CVT, was once praised as an innovative step forward, but over time it has gained a reputation as one of the most frustrating drivetrain components in the industry. Owners frequently report jerking, slipping, and even total failure, often before hitting the 100,000-mile mark. And when it does fail, replacement costs can be brutal, ranging anywhere from $3,500 to $8,000 depending on the location and drivetrain setup. And that's assuming the dealership even has the replacement parts ready, which is far from guaranteed. The Altima suffers from the same fate. Across the 2015 to 2020 model years, a flood of owner complaints told the same story. Identical CVT transmission failures. The supposed promise of fuel efficiency quickly collapses when your car spends more time parked in a service bay than out on the road. Add in camshaft and crankshaft sensor issues, intake gasket leaks, and failing catalytic converters, and the Altima's resume becomes a nightmare for any owner. Once seen as a worthy rival to the Honda Accord and Toyota Camry, the Altima now feels like a car that simply gave up trying. Then there's the Frontier, a truck that looks tough on the outside, but struggles with the basics. The 2018 to 2021 models have been repeatedly called out for vague, unresponsive steering, a painfully outdated interior, and a ride quality that feels more like punishment than adventure. Despite its rugged styling and off-road marketing, the Frontier has been left eating the dust of more refined competitors like the Toyota Tacoma and Ford Ranger. Nissan has already scaled back production, but the bigger issue, the loss of consumer trust, is far harder to repair. From stale designs to engineering shortcuts, Nissan's collapse wasn't the result of one catastrophic event. It was death by 1,000 small compromises, each one slowly draining value from the badge. But here's the thing, as bad as it is to buy a car that constantly breaks, it's even worse to buy a luxury vehicle that does the exact same thing and charges you triple for the privilege. We dug through reliability reports, owner surveys, and repair databases so you don't have to. Now you've got the truth that automakers would rather you never hear. If this saved you time or money, hit subscribe and tell us your own car horror story in the comments. Let's move on to Jaguar, the expensive headache. You don't simply drive a Jaguar, you survive it. Take the F-Pace, for example. It makes a dazzling first impression with its sleek lines, muscular stance, and unmistakable British badge. It promises power, sophistication, and prestige. But what it actually delivers is chaos. Models built between 2016 and 2020 have earned a notorious reputation for. The Jaguar F-Pace might look like a luxury dream, but in reality, it can feel like a nightmare you paid extra for. The infotainment system has a nasty habit of freezing mid-navigation. The stop-start function, instead of saving fuel, often misfires in hot weather. And the interior? It can literally melt. Drivers have reported glue seeping from the steering wheel, an unpleasant reminder that some luxury finishes are only skin deep. Inside the cabin, squeaks and rattles creep in like an off-key symphony, with doors, dashboards, and suspension components all falling out of harmony over time. But the mechanical troubles are even worse. Transmission glitches tend to appear early, oil leaks aren't far behind, and sensors fail at alarming rates. The result? Unpredictability has become Jaguar's defining trait. Owners find themselves second-guessing every warning light, every delay, every strange noise. And once the repairs start, they don't stop. Over a 5-year period, the average F-Pace racks up more than $13,000 in repair bills, and that's not including routine maintenance or surprise emergencies. It's simply the price of keeping on the road. Unsurprisingly, J.D. Power has slapped Jaguar with below-average reliability ratings across nearly every category. For some buyers, that's a deal-breaker. For others, the reality only sinks in once the warranty expires. Jaguar once built automotive legends. Now, it seems, it builds liabilities dressed in leather. Unfortunately, Jaguar isn't alone in this fall from grace. Another brand with an even more powerful legacy has managed to turn it into a slow-motion breakdown: Jeep. Marketed as America's off-road icon, Jeep invented the sport utility vehicle and then weaponized nostalgia. Buyers thought they were purchasing history. What they got was an expensive lesson in mechanical failure. Take the Wrangler, for example. Third-generation models, especially from 2007 to 2018, delivered more recalls than road trips. Electrical glitches plagued owners from the moment they left the lot. Brakes failed. Steering was so loose that drivers described it as more of a suggestion than a command. Then came the infamous death wobble in the 2017 Wrangler. Not an isolated incident, but a systemic flaw that triggered 5 separate federal investigations and generated over 1,500 consumer complaints. Then came the 2018 Wrangler, hailed by some as the best of the worst. But even that came with 12 recalls, serving as a blunt reminder that iconic styling can't cover up poor engineering. Ride comfort, something modern buyers consider non-negotiable, was another letdown. The seats were stiff, the cabin cramped, and the suspension bounced over city streets like a badly tuned trampoline. Jeep's Grand Cherokee was supposed to be the brand's redemption arc. Instead, it delivered its own list of headaches. Premature brake wear, glitchy power steering, and a particularly nasty component called the Totally Integrated Power Module, TIPM, have drained the wallets and patience of thousands of owners. When the TIPM fails, it can cause the vehicle to refuse to start, stall randomly, or suffer a complete electrical shutdown, all without warning. And replacing it isn't cheap. The bill can run into the thousands, assuming you can even find a dealership willing to diagnose it correctly. For a brand built on the promise of rugged adventure, the reality has been a patchwork of recalls, lawsuits, and buyer's remorse. In fact, only about 25% of Wrangler owners believe their vehicle will reach 200,000 miles, a shocking statistic for a company that sells longevity as a lifestyle. But Jeep's fall from grace is just one chapter in a bigger story. Next, we turn to a manufacturer that markets itself on precision German engineering, while quietly delivering mechanical anxiety in disguise. Volkswagen once stood as a global benchmark. German engineering meant overbuilt components, mechanical elegance, and the confidence that your car could last a generation. But for too many modern VW drivers, those ideals have corroded into dashboard chaos, mystery noises, and breakdowns that feel almost deliberate. Take the Volkswagen Jetta. Once a symbol of affordable European performance in the US, it's now a cautionary tale in ownership forums. The 2019 model year marked a visible turning point, with reliability scores plunging to just 1 out of 5 stars. Owners complained of a flawed transmission that stumbled through shifts with hesitation, jerks, and grinding, especially in the ironically named Eco mode. Dealerships brushed it off as normal, but when normal starts feeling like sabotage, trust evaporates. And the problems don't stop there. Head gasket failures have led to coolant leaks, overheating, and engine damage costing thousands to repair. These issues aren't showing up after years of hard driving. They're appearing early in the car's life. Add in failing window regulators, random trunk latch failures, and misaligned doors and trim, and the Jetta starts to feel more like a prototype than a finished product. Now, scale up those problems to the Volkswagen Atlas, the brand's flagship family SUV. Engine trouble often begins with the connecting rod bearings, small but critical components that bear the brunt of every power stroke. When they fail, the result can be catastrophic: sudden stalls in traffic or complete engine seizure. Meanwhile, the brake master cylinder, a part you should never have to think about, has been linked to total brake failure in documented cases. The worst part about the Volkswagen Atlas? You won't know disaster is coming until it's too late. The electrical system is a minefield of glitches. Infotainment screens crash mid-drive, phantom alerts appear without reason, and reverse cameras malfunction, turning basic parking into a nerve-wracking gamble. Even the turbocharged four-cylinder engine can't save it. Loaded up with passengers and cargo, and it wheezes, lags, and delivers none of the confident push an SUV in this class should provide. Volkswagen built its reputation on reliability and precision. But for many modern owners, that legacy has become nothing more than an illusion, an expensive one that begins to crumble the moment you drive off the lot. And if you think that's bad, wait until you see what happens when prestige turns into a paycheck-devouring machine. Enter Audi. This isn't just a car brand, it's a status symbol. The Q5, in particular, promises a blend of luxury, power, and German precision wrapped in a polished package. But the longer owners spend behind the wheel, the more that image begins to unravel. Beneath its sculpted metal and dazzling LED lights lies a vehicle plagued by mechanical flaws, design oversights, and reliability headaches that can make ownership feel like a second job. Take the 2.0L turbocharged fuel-stratified injection engine. On paper, it's a marvel of engineering designed to balance performance and efficiency. In reality, it guzzles oil like an aging beater. Many owners find themselves topping off oil weekly just to avoid the dreaded low-pressure warning light. Ignore it for too long, and you're looking at accelerated wear and, in some cases, complete engine failure, often conveniently after the warranty has expired. Then there's the positive crankcase ventilation (PCV) system, a crucial component for emissions control and engine pressure regulation. In the Q5, it's almost guaranteed to fail early. When it does, performance nosedives, acceleration lags, the engine sputters, idle speeds surge, and costly repairs follow. Worse still, many owners have had to fix it more than once. The tech package offers no safe haven. Infotainment screens freeze mid-navigation, climate controls randomly blast full heat in the middle of summer, parking sensors sound false alarms, and rear cameras flicker or fail entirely. These aren't rare flukes. They're recurring complaints across owner forums, review sites, and dealership service bays. And just when you think it couldn't possibly get worse, there are the water leaks. Not small drips, but full-on pooling in footwells and trunks, leading to mildew, rust, and electrical failures. Imagine paying over $50,000 for a luxury SUV, only to discover the kind of water damage you'd expect from a decade-old budget car. Even safety isn't safe in the Audi Q5. Emergency braking, blind spot alerts, and adaptive cruise control all suffer from sensor errors. For a brand pushing semi-autonomous features, these aren't just embarrassing flaws, they're dangerous. And the damage doesn't end there. Resale value, once a point of pride for Audi owners, is slipping. Buyers are catching on, repair costs keep climbing, and dealerships now have weeks-long wait lists just for basic parts. But if you think German automakers are the only ones bleeding their reputations, think again, because the next brand managed to take reliability off the table entirely. Mitsubishi, when cheap, costs you more. The Mirage didn't bow out with a bold farewell. It simply vanished, quietly erased from the lineup, a whisper of regret buried beneath piles of unsold dealer inventory. No matter how many incentives they threw at it, this car simply wouldn't move. It's the kind of vehicle that lures buyers with a too-good-to-be-true sticker price, then punishes them mile after mile. At the heart of the Mirage's misery is its unrefined three-cylinder engine. It groans, hesitates, and shakes so much at idle that some passengers have mistaken it for a mechanical fault. Pair that with a painfully weak acceleration curve, and you're not driving a car, you're begging it to keep up with traffic. Owners often joke that it feels like the Mirage wants to stall out of sheer embarrassment. That's not transportation. That's torment. On paper, reliability might look acceptable. In reality, critical sensors, including acceleration and airbag units, can fail without warning. These are not the kinds of components you ever want to gamble on. Some owners have even reported their doors refusing to latch properly after light use, with hinges loosening far sooner than expected. When a vehicle can't guarantee it will shut, lock, or deploy its airbags in a crash, its low price tag stops being a bargain and becomes a risk. Inside, things don't get any better. Step inside the Mitsubishi Mirage, and it feels like a forgotten economy car from 2005. The plastics are so thin you can flex them with your knee. The upholstery is so low-grade it starts fraying after just a few hot summers. Crash test scores? Miserable, with rear passenger safety scoring especially poorly in several major impact tests. Which begs the question, who exactly is this car protecting? Even the Mirage's low annual maintenance cost, averaging under $500, becomes meaningless when you're visiting the shop more often than you're changing your oil. In late 2024, Mitsubishi quietly pulled the plug on the Mirage. No redesign, no replacement, not even a farewell campaign. It simply vanished from showrooms, as if it was never meant to be there in the first place. But as underwhelming as the Mirage was, another brand managed to create something even worse. A car that somehow smiled while sending its owners into financial despair. Fiat, the jelly bean on stilts. The 500L is what happens when design wins the argument over engineering. Quirky? Sure. Memorable? Maybe. Functional? Not a chance. Fiat tried to cash in on the crossover craze by stretching its beloved city car into something vaguely SUV-shaped. The result was one of the most forgettable flops in recent automotive history. The exterior promised personality. The interior delivered disappointment. Models built between 2014 and 2017 were plagued with problems that made the 500L feel more like a failed prototype than a finished product. Engine stalling topped the list, and not the kind where the car hesitates before moving. We're talking about engines that flat out died at stoplights and refused to restart without multiple ignition attempts. Then came the transmission meltdowns. Owners reported sudden gear slipping, grinding, and agonizing delays that made merging onto the highway feel like a game of chicken. Fiat's dual-clutch system, once praised for its efficiency, instead became infamous for jerky shifts and abysmal reliability. Safety recalls rolled in like clockwork, airbags that failed to deploy, fuel leaks that posed fire hazards, and suspension defects that turned every pothole into a structural stress test. And when the 500L wasn't breaking down, it was losing value at record speed. Some owners reported their cars depreciating by more than 50% within just 3 years. Interior space wasn't the issue, ride quality was. Despite its taller stance and bigger cabin, the 500L never drove like a proper crossover. It bounced over bumps, rattled on rough roads, and leaned awkwardly into turns, offering all the stability of a folding chair on a windy day. Even routine driving in the Fiat 500L felt like a chore, as if the car itself was trying to escape its own design. In 2021, Fiat quietly ended U.S. production. There was no upgrade, no redemption arc, no comeback story. It came, it failed, and it vanished. The people who bought it? Many are still trying to forget. Now imagine a vehicle that didn't disappear, but stuck around just long enough to build a loyal following before quietly betraying that trust. The next brand on our list proves that not every quiet ride comes with peace of mind. Buick, comfortably unreliable. From the outside, the Buick Encore seems tailor-made for modern life. It's small enough for city streets, offers decent mileage, delivers a smooth ride, and carries the understated image Buick is known for. But open the hood, or worse, browse the owner forums, and the picture changes quickly. This is not a car that ages gracefully. It's one that tests your patience more and more with each passing year. The biggest problem? Unpredictability. Model years from 2015 onward have been plagued with a grab bag of failures. 1 week, the turbocharged 1.4L engine struggles to climb a hill. The next, the air conditioning gives out in peak summer heat. Then come the electrical gremlins, dashboard error messages, infotainment lockups, and glitchy rearview cameras that make the car feel more like a beta version than a finished product. Airbag recalls, faulty seatbelt tensioners, and brake issues have all landed the Encore on the radar of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. And yet, parked on a dealership lot, it still looks respectable, clean, quiet, and sensible. Unfortunately, that image unravels the moment the warranty expires. Despite the turbocharged label, the Encore feels sluggish in real-world driving. Merge onto the freeway or try to pass a semi, and you quickly realize it's more bark than bite. The 6-speed automatic transmission hesitates at the worst possible moments, especially during the shift from city to highway speeds, making responsiveness inconsistent at best and risky at worst. Interior tech doesn't help its case. Even before 2020, the infotainment system felt outdated, with slow response times and frustrating compatibility issues. And while cargo space is decent for its size, that advantage fades fast when you factor in the reliability concerns. Resale value? Among the lowest in its class, because well-informed buyers know what the Encore really is, a short-term fix that turns into a long-term regret. For a vehicle sold under the banner of premium comfort and General Motors reliability, it delivers neither over time. But the next car on this list doesn't even try to hide behind grace. It charges forward with brute force and bold styling, and then leaves owners wondering how something so powerful could go so wrong. Dodge, speed with a price. The Durango can hit 60 miles per hour in just 5 seconds. Impressive, until you realize the repair bills can catch up even faster. What Dodge marketed as a muscular family hauler has, in reality, turned into a ticking financial time bomb. In the real world, fuel economy hovers around just 15 miles per gallon, and reliability has slipped further with each passing year. Ownership costs pile up just as quickly as the Durango can hit highway speeds. Engine failures, cracked exhaust manifolds, and persistent electronic issues can rack up $5,000 to $7,000 in repairs, often before the odometer even reaches 60,000 miles. Inside, things don't get much better. The cabin leans heavily on hard plastics and outdated tech, while the infotainment system feels several model years behind. Build quality simply doesn't match rivals in the same price bracket. And for a vehicle that can easily push past $50,000 when fully optioned, the lack of refinement is hard to overlook. Safety is another sore spot. Crash test scores remain average at best, and many essential driver assistance features are either missing or locked behind expensive add-on packages. This makes the Durango's bold, tough-as-nails image all the more frustrating. Dodge sells the fantasy of raw, unfiltered power, and while that might work in commercials, the reality for owners is far different. Worn suspension components, premature brake wear, and drivetrain vibrations take their toll far sooner than expected. Even longtime Dodge loyalists have started questioning whether raw performance is worth this level of compromise. And as dealership incentives dry up and resale values continue to sink, the Durango's performance bargain reputation fades, revealing something closer to a financial trap. But if burning fuel drains your wallet, the next vehicle on our list proves you don't even need gas to watch your savings vanish. All it takes is one accident, even a minor one. Rivian, the $40,000 fender bender. Rivian promised to change the future of trucks, and in many ways, they did. The R1T burst onto the scene with jaw-dropping design, cutting-edge tech, and whisper-quiet performance that wowed early adopters. But once the launch hype faded, reality came crashing in. For some owners, literally, one low-speed accident, nothing more than a small dent and a panel replacement, resulted in a staggering repair bill of over $40,000. And this wasn't a freak occurrence. Stories like this have been popping up all over the country. The problem lies in Rivian's design. Body panels are fused with structural components, and a massive battery pack sits directly beneath the cabin, making even minor repairs a logistical nightmare. Most traditional shops won't touch it, and Rivian's own service network is still small, with only a limited number of certified centers. This means a job that used to take days can stretch into months, even for something as minor as a cracked taillight. And you don't even need an accident to run into trouble. Earlier 1TS, especially the 2022 models, were plagued with software glitches, sensor errors, random shutdowns, and phantom warning lights. Owners expected Tesla-level refinement, but got rush production under the pressure of a startup trying to scale fast. Maintenance costs are all over the place. Some owners get away with minimal annual expenses, while others face unpredictable repair bills thanks to inconsistent service policies and warranty disputes. Adding used market already nervous about these issues, and Rivian's reputation is teetering from groundbreaking to high risk. Electric trucks are supposed to inspire confidence, but for many R1T buyers, the thrill of innovation has been replaced by wait lists, repair invoices, and regret. Still, Rivian's headaches pale in comparison to what comes next. A brand that makes the R1T look like a dependable daily driver. A name that has perfected the art of disappointing its own customers, Land Rover. Between 2017 and 2020, the The Land Rover Discovery ranked among the most unreliable vehicles in North America. More than 24,000 owners reported mechanical breakdowns, electrical meltdowns, and endless warranty battles. On the surface, the Discovery looks like a Triumph, sculpted bodywork, premium paint, and a commanding stance that screams luxury adventure. But beneath that glossy exterior lies one of the most fragile ownership experiences in the luxury SUV market. Its air suspension, a signature feature, is notorious for failing within just a few years, leaving the SUV sagging, tilted, or completely undrivable. Drivetrain problems are just as common, from transfer case seizures to axle noise and transmission lurches that often require tearing apart half the powertrain to fix. And the electronics? Equally disastrous. The infotainment system can freeze, reset randomly, or lock owners out entirely. Keyless entry fails, climate control misbehaves, and digital dashboards sometimes go completely black. Add in roof leaks, misaligned panels, and brake system flaws, and you have an SUV that demands constant owner vigilance just to stay functional. Yet somehow, Land Rover keeps selling the dream. The badge, the marketing, the promise of elite capability. Buyers sign on, unaware their dream car could spend more time in the shop than on the road. Even the dealership experience can be hit or miss, with long waits for parts and no real solutions for chronic problems. Once the warranty expires, the nightmare deepens. Parts prices are eye-watering, labor rates are premium, and repairs often reveal even more hidden issues. Some owners report spending over $10,000 a year just to keep their Discovery running. Resale values collapse within 3 years, plummeting faster than nearly any other luxury SUV in its class.